1,000 times a day, I'm going to tell you that it might be a little early, but the early November is going to take the board as the first number 15 seed. So these guys have been around forever, and I think they just dropped an album in September. Ever So Sweet is an absolutely gorgeous song, and Ace Enders is considered somewhat of a god among the scene crowd. My favorite song by them is 1,000 Times a Day, and that song was actually my wife and I's wedding song. So I'm definitely a big fan of these guys. Unfortunately, Ace is so talented that he just seems to be kind of all over the place. What are we getting today? The early November, I Can Make a Mess Like Nobody's Business, or Ace Enders and a million different people. Also, you know what? Their 3-disc album, The Mother, The Mechanic, and The Path, was part masterpiece, and it was part a bunch of filler songs that were just kind of there, and then there were a couple really great songs on there. But it did chart on number 31 on the Billboard, so I don't really know if I'm the proper authority for that. For the second number 15, we're heading to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and 2 things come from Latrobe: Rolling Rock Beer and the Juliana Theory. They're both extremely underappreciated and kind of mediocre. Their major label debut, Love, sold like 100,000 copies and charted at number 5. They also toured with something corporate that never really made sense to me. They always seemed to be the band that towed the line between emo-driven rock and dick rock, and I could never really fully get into them, but I know some people enjoyed them. The next number 15 is kind of funny, in a car crash start away. Boys Night Out. These guys were mixing screaming breakdowns and blast beats with pop-punk melodies and gang vocals years before A Day to Remember were, or 4 Years Strong. They have a widely dedicated fan base, and their song, I Got Punched in the Face for Sticking My Nose in Other People's Business, isn't only a great song, it was years ahead of its time by featuring a wildly, ridiculously long band title that you'd see a bunch of bands on Fueled by Ramen popularize in the years to come. They were also on Ferret Records, which is pretty cool. Their cons, well, they just kind of went on a hiatus and never came back from it. They had the push. They were on the Nintendo Fusion Tour, which now is iconic, with Fall Out Boy, The Starting Line, Motion City Soundtrack, and Panic at the Disco. They just never took that major leap and made it huge. Great band, though, sinfully underrated. Oh, something tells me I'm never gonna live this down. Bringing the Easy Core and the Beards, and at number 15 is 4 Years Strong. These dudes have staying power. They still put out new records, even in 2020, and not a lot of bands get a 19-year career. They had Pete Wentz's and Patrick Stump's sign-off, and they got signed to Decadence. They also released 2 records on Universal, and not a lot of easycore bands could say that they got a push from a major like that. Unfortunately, they never really hit the level of A Day to Remember, and they kind of had the misfortune of putting out a few really good albums at the same time that Set Your Goals was putting out a couple really great albums, and that comparison always kind of hurt them. But they've had a great career.